Today's video is sponsored by Unveil. Unveil is AI-free and anti-NFT community with over 200k users. They always put creators first, they keep a positive space, and they make it easier for artists to grow together. You can find character pages to show your Cs with a written content support for things like their biography. You can also create your own worlds for your Cs and for other artists to see and eventually join. They also recently added a new update where you can see the recent comments and posts, so that it makes so much easier to connect to new artists or just simply people who are currently on the website just like you are. There are always a lot of things you can do and very cool ways to, interact. For example, the question of the day, where you can just simply tell how your OC will react in specific situations. And you can find much more on the Explore tab as well. Whatever you want. Characters, worlds, writing, anything. And they also gave a little update to their homepage, so if you want to see what's new, you should totally check that out. I myself am also on Unveil, so if you want to go and see my stuff, you can check my page out. But thanks so much for Unveil for sponsoring this video. Hi, hello, welcome. My name is V, also known as Nirami. And yeah, welcome to a new video today. I'm gonna be so honest, I still don't know how to start my video sometimes. Like, I say hello here and there, but how am I supposed to start talking about whatever I want to talk about? But we'll get there one day. But anyway, gonna just awkwardly slide in. So a few days ago, I was streaming, FNAF, The Secret of the Mimic, and to some of you who are in my streams, you know that sometimes I curse, like when I play games, especially horror games, I curse a lot. I can't really control that. And during the stream, I would sometimes get comments like, oh, like, can you please not curse? Like, can you stop with the cursing? And da. No. Okay. Basically, I've felt like I kind of wanted to talk about it once as well, because it's been something that's been in my mind from time to time, but I just was brushing it off. I do want to remind people that I'm actually a 25-year-old grown woman. I'm an adult, okay? I feel like maybe sometimes people forget that, and I know I have this also very silly persona, just silly art style, just silly vibes, just unserious vibes, and I don't know, whatever comes with it. And yeah, I get it, because whenever I make my comics or my content is, I do enjoy expressing my silly side, especially since I had a history with it where for the most part of my life I was actually kind of ashamed for it, because it made me feel like I was basically it made me feel like I was still kind of childish, I guess, and basically I always felt like I need to be serious, I need to blend in with other people and kind of be more serious about things, and it took me time to kind of accept that this is just a part of who I am, and it's definitely not something that I can control most of the time. It's just and I like to interpret that into my comics and drawings as well, because if I have suffered from my clumsiness during the day, I might as well just share it. Sometimes things happen because of my clumsiness, and instead of being sad about it, I'd rather turn it around into something positive, and obviously I've been pretty much sharing only the silly side of me online, because I'm gonna be honest with you, I kind of don't want to share anything that I don't want to share. That makes sense, yeah. And basically, there's just some things about me that I sometimes like to keep to myself, because again, by the end of the day, we all have personal lives and we all have different, I don't know, situations, problems, whatsoever, we all have things to deal with, obviously, yeah. But I feel like maybe sometimes, because I only show this positive side of mine, people kind of feel like I'm everything is perfect again, which is I'm human, okay? So, and for example, I also remember I drew an art once, in this art I was basically smoking a cigarette, I think. Yeah, I was smoking a cigarette, and I used myself also as a reference for that, and I remember it was, I think, 2 years ago, people were commenting oh, no, it's not good for you, smoking is not good for you, you need to stop, no, don't smoke. I'm I'm not, I'm not smoking. But now that people are telling me not to do it, I actually kind of want to do it because, it's like, I don't want to explain it, but I think it's just like this feeling of like, I'm an adult. I know what I'm doing. Not all decisions that I make are gonna be like the correct ones, obviously, but by the end of the day, those are my decisions. And I don't want people to treat me like I'm a child, or like I'm like this like all innocent baby or anything like that. Like I appreciate people liking me and supporting me. That's true, but I also appreciate if you keep in mind that I'm a grown woman. I can be silly and a grown woman at the same time. Like it doesn't cancel out, both of those. So that's that's good. But back to the cursing part. Like I said, I'm not gonna stop cursing. Okay. I will continue cursing. First of all, why? Because I myself, I'm gonna be honest, my first words that I known when I was a baby was probably a curse word, because I'm not gonna lie to you, my family, I grew up hearing a lot of curse words, but again, I also grew up Slavic. So yeah. So again, obviously I was never allowed to say it as a child, and even now 25, I try to not to cuss in front of my parents, because you just don't do that. But still, like, I would hear cuss words all my childhood, like until I was grown. And it's impossible to avoid that. It's impossible to act like as if they don't exist. And personally for me as well, as a person, I do use a lot of cuss words, again, especially if I play horror games, which I've been doing a lot lately. And like another thing is just like something that I've been thinking about quite a lot. Kind of, I never felt like talking about, because like I was simply unsure myself. I was just like going along with it. Is that, being a content creator and trying to, do things properly, but at the same time being true to myself, where like I'm not allowed to forget like who I am, my personality, and like what I like to do. Obviously, I do keep it in mind, trying to be like an example to others. I'm gonna be honest, I don't want to be an example to others. I think everybody should be themselves, never put someone on a pedestal. I said it numerous times, so I'm gonna say it ever again. Never put others on a pedestal, okay? Doesn't matter who, be yourself, okay? It's your life, okay? Act like yourself. Act like whatever you feel like is true to you. You know what I mean? Okay, now that's out of the way. Basically, yeah, I think I've said it before. I just don't want to like carry any responsibility, for how somebody acts. Man, see, that's a difficult topic. At the same time, it's like, even though I don't want to, it just comes with it. It just simply comes with it sometimes, just wanting to be my true self and being myself. And however, for some reason, sometimes like worrying, like oh my god, like am I being a good example or not? I'm like, how about just being myself sometimes? Which I am, by the way, like I am still myself most of the time. It's not like I'm just like playing a whole persona over here. I'm just saying, like, for the parts, for example, with cursing. Like back then, I was like, oh, maybe I should not curse and stuff like that. But like at the same time, I was like, why not? It's a part of me. It's not something I want to stop doing, so like I might as well continue doing it, even though like some people don't like it. Well then, sorry, then my channel was not for you, or just like me, myself as a person, not for you. Maybe we'll talk about this topic one day again. As you can see, even right now, I'm a little bit still confused about how to feel about this, because I'm learning myself as a person, being a content creator, stuff like that, and just like my brain is already cooking in my head right now when I start thinking about it. But yeah, one day if I'm gonna gather my own experience and like figure it out for myself, I'm gonna share it with you guys. But as you can see, I'm also still on my own journey right now. I'm still learning things, and I don't know what's gonna change. I don't know what's not gonna change, but I can just simply be transparent about how I feel about those things right now, as much as I can. And yeah, but long story short, even though I'm super silly and my content can be silly and stuff, I would appreciate if people keep in mind as well that I'm a grown woman, and that my content will also express it sometimes, because I'm gonna be honest, I also don't want to hold myself back artistically and create in a creative manner, basically. Well, yeah, I think that's gonna be it for now. Just wanted to talk about it. Okay, enough nonsense yapping, enough nonsense talking, okay? I hope you enjoyed it. Maybe you understand it, maybe you don't understand it, Maybe I can kind of share a little bit like of an insight, from a content creator's perspective, and or just like a little reminder for people. But I felt definitely it felt kind of good to give people a reminder out loud, you know, about not treating me like a child. Basically, take care of yourself, get yourself a little treat, okay? And I hope you're having a wonderful day. If you like this, you know, like, subscribe, click notification bell button, and I'll see you next time, okay? Bye bye.